Finally, I'm delighted to have named Kaycee Madu as our new Alberta Minister of Justice and Solicitor General, as well as the Provincial Secretary for the Province of Alberta. Kaycee's story is an inspiring one. A man who grew up in abject poverty in his homeland of Nigeria, who overcame enormous odds to get his law degree, come to Canada, and went through many of the tough challenges and great adversity that new Canadians do ultimately to succeed. He and his wife have operated a legal practice here in Alberta. He has served in Alberta's public service and has done a tremendous job as our Minister for Municipal Affairs in the first 16 months of this government, leading many important reforms. And I am delighted that he has agreed to pick up where Doug left off in implementing important reforms to our justice system to crack down on crime, to stop the revolving door for criminals, particularly those who have committed property crime offenses and increasingly violent offenses in rural Alberta. He will continue and ensure the completion of the statutory review of the Police Act, and will also be responsible for implementing the most important and ambitious democratic reforms in Alberta history. With this fall, the introduction of legislation to empower Albertans themselves to decide important issues through the power of citizen initiative referendum, as well as to hold MLAs to account through the legislation for recall that will empower Albertans to force by-elections if their MLAs are not have not kept the confidence of their electors. He'll also take the lead role in our cabinet on the implementation of our fight for a fair deal. The recommendations that we accepted from the Fair Deal panel, as well as many other fair deal items that were included in our election platform last year, Alberta Strong and Free. For example, Kaycee will continue the fight in court towards the Supreme Court against the job-killing federal carbon tax. He will oversee our challenge to the outrageous violation of Alberta's constitutional jurisdiction to regulate our own resources through the federal bill C-69, and we'll be challenging the constitutionality of that in the Alberta Appeal Court through a reference next month or later this fall. He'll be implementing the Alberta Parole Board legislation for which we passed in this summer session. He'll be appointing an Alberta Chief Firearms Officer to ensure that we do everything possible to push back against the overreach of recent federal firearms regulation that effectively seek to criminalize law-abiding firearms owners. He will coordinate our referendum on equalization in the fall of next year. Will oversee a comprehensive study in the Department of Justice on the feasibility of an Alberta provincial police force as we explore whether Alberta should do the same thing as Quebec, Ontario, and Newfoundland in having a more responsive local police force. And let me say that the fight for a fair deal, which Kaycee will be taking a critical role in overseeing and leading, is not separate from our focus on the economy. It reinforces our obsessive focus on jobs and the economy, because we cannot get Alberta's economy firing on all cylinders as long as the federal government is hammering us, clobbering us with policies that damage our resource industries in particular. So fighting back against those policies and getting fiscal fairness through things like equalization and the fiscal stabilization program is actually a critical part of our strategy for a stronger and more prosperous Alberta. I'm also pleased to say that, as I mentioned, Kaycee will be overseeing the implementation of the Police Act at a time when we are all rightfully more sensitive to the reality of racial prejudice. I think it's a powerful statement that Alberta will have the first ever Canadian Justice Minister of African origin. first Black Canadian Justice Minister or Attorney General or Solicitor General, who is a man who has experienced racial prejudice firsthand and can bring that sensitivity to this important role. I'm excited to have him in that position.